this information here. Okay. So bell ringer for today. Describe what an independent and dependent variable is. Detail the IV and DV and Emily Rose's and Funk's experiments. And we'll go over the activity here soon enough. Yeah, I'm going to come around and check them then and give you credit for them. What's going on back there? No bell ringer, huh? Nope. Hang up on them. What? I don't know. He's in a video. Yeah, I'm sure. Hey, what's up? Jeez. You hear me, Raven? There you go. You hear me all right? I think so. Would have joined you sooner, just current events and getting grades together. Oh my gosh. So getting started now, working on the bell ringer. Excuses. Oh, excuses for everybody. That didn't turn in their assignments those 2 weeks. Yeah, a whole month to turn them in. Oh my heavens. Oh my heavens. I'm not saying you specifically, but everybody else. How crazy is that? Do you think that's allowed anywhere else? Unbelievable. As you're working on the bell ringer, I know we went over this yesterday. I'm going to come around and check your bell ringers and also check your activity from yesterday. So have that ready to go. I think everybody should have it finished, completed. I hope so. Any activity, independent variable, job Adam. Alice, good work. Yeah, was finished. Okay. All right. Yeah, any sign from yesterday, buddy? Fishing out the independent. Girls, and independent, worksheet. Okay. Okay. Really good. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to just scroll. Perfect. Thanks. Andrew? Oh, Parker today. Okay. Oh, sir. Yeah. All right, I'll put those grades in as quick as possible. So, independent, dependent variable. What is an independent variable? What is that? Kaylin? All right, yeah. So this is what the experimenter manipulates in the study, right? This is something interchangeable that is altered in the study to get a response, right? To get the dependent variable. All right, good. So in Emily Rose's experiment, what was the independent variable? I went over it yesterday. What was it? Haley, what was the independent variable in Emily Rose's? Yeah, what hand she hovers over top of, right? Because it's interchangeable. It's something that she changes or alters to get a response. All right, good. What about in funcs? Christian, I think you answered this one yesterday. Von Austin? Yeah, wherever the horse trainer was, right? So maybe they eliminated Von Austin from Clever Hans' eyesight, or they put blinders on Clever Hans. Good. So that's something interchangeable, something that he maybe places Von Austin in front, or he removes Von Austin from from Clever Hans's eyesight. Good. And dependent variable, what is that? Noah, what's a dependent variable? It would be like what's not changing. Okay, all right. So in other terms, what is the dependent variable? It's the what? The outcome, right? The measured outcome. Okay, good. So in Emily Rose's experiment, what would be the measured outcome in her study? Allison? If the therapist could guess which hand she's having. Yeah, good job. So it's the response of the therapeutic touch practitioner. It's either left or right. Good. And then with the dependent variable of Funk's experiment, what was it? Kiara, do you remember? Yeah. What's the measured outcome of Funk's experiment, Clever Hans? Okay, and how would Clever Hans answer the question? What would he do? Yeah, he would tap his hooves. Okay, so it'd be number of times Clever Hans taps his hoof, or just hoof tapping. All right, good. Is there any questions on that? And finally, what's a confounding variable? I know that was a lot. I didn't add that to the bell ringer, but I want to talk about it real quick. What's a confounding variable? Brittany, what's a confounding variable? We went over that yesterday. Yeah, it's like an outlier. Good job. It's an unwanted response. Okay. It's something that might influence your study and it might have a negative influence, causing your study to be skewed. Okay. Your data to be not matched of what you're trying to look for. And what might be a confounding variable, let's say with Emily Rose's experiment? There's a couple we went over. Family? Yeah, good job. Maybe there's a window, a reflection of Emily Rose's whatever hand she's hovering over top of. Good job. And with funks, what might it be, Christian? Yeah, so it maybe could have been another person. The guy's other guy. So yeah, it maybe could have been someone else that understood Funk's is Von Austin's facial expressions. Yeah, so it could have been another guy in the background giving Clever Hans facial expressions to answer the questions. All right, good. All right, so let's go over that activity from yesterday. Make sure we're all on the same page because you will see independent, dependent variable examples on the test. All right, let's pull this up. There it is. Okay, number one, we went over that one already. So independent variable, what's interchangeable? Well, it's the time spent on social media. Dependent variable would be the amount of books that person read. Okay. Two, drinking energy drinks makes people more aggressive. Oh, you can get a BAM, right? A bang? Yeah, a bang. Okay. I guess that's what they're called. A C4, Red Bull, Monster. I don't know. So drinking energy drinks makes people more aggressive. What would be the independent variable there? Kiara? All right, yeah. So drinking energy drinks. So it might be the amount of energy drinks. So if that person's drinking energy drink or maybe not. So I guess we could say amount of energy drinks. Okay. And then what about dependent variable? What's the measured outcome here? Caitlin? Yeah, good job. So the aggression in people, whatever have you. Just make sure you explain it in detail, though. So let's just say you give like a brief response, aggression. Okay, well, aggression and what? Okay, so make sure you guys are explaining in detail. If you do it on a test, I'm looking for that, right? I'm looking for your explanation and detailed explanation of these variables. All right, three, taking a nap in the afternoon makes people more focused for the rest of the day. Independent variable. Allison, what do you have? Yeah, good job. So maybe it is a time spent napping in the afternoon. Good. And what's the measured outcome here, Hadley? Yeah, good job. So how focused these people are for the rest of the day. Good. Four, spending time with a family dog decreases the amount of stress someone is feeling. So independent variable. What do you have, Brady? Yeah, time spent with a family dog. Good. Oh, my dog this morning was going crazy over food. It was unbelievable. He was pushing over everything, barking. Dependent variable would be what? Noah? Yeah, good job. So the amount of stress someone is feeling. Good. Five, eating breakfast in the morning increases the ability to learn in school. Oh, you eat breakfast in the morning? Kiara, do you? What do you have this morning? Velveeta crackers. What? Benavita. Oh, never heard of them. I had waffles. I normally have waffles. Blueberry waffles. All right, independent variable. What do we have? Christian? Yeah, eating breakfast or not. Good. Dependent variable would be what, Christian? Yeah, ability to learn in school. Uh-oh, more challenging. Here we go. So, students watched a cartoon either alone or with others and then rated how funny they found a cartoon to be. Independent variable. What would it be, Brittany? You're not following along. What is this? Independent variable. Students watched a cartoon either alone or with others. They're rated how funny the cartoon would be. Independent variable would be what? Those stuff. You got it? Oh, part two, question one. That's the dependent variable. What about the independent variable? So if they watch a cartoon with either alone or with someone else. All right, so follow along, guys. Follow along here. So two, a comprehension test was given to students after they had studied textbook material either in silence or with the television on. Okay, what is the independent variable here? What's the independent variable? Brady, what do you have? All right, yeah, good job. So either they studied in silence or with the television on. And the dependent variable would be what? Katie? Yeah, good job. So how well they did on the comprehension test. Good. Three, some elementary school students, or sorry, teachers were told that a child's parents were college graduates. And other teachers were told that the child's parents had not finished high school. They then rated the child's grades. Independent variable, what would that be? Kiara? Who? The child's parents. Yep. So make sure you include that then if you ever explain it. So child's parents, all right, what their education was. So whether they were college graduates or high school, or if they didn't finish high school. And dependent variable would be what? Kaylin? Yeah, the child's grades. 4, workers at a company were assigned to one or two conditions. One group completed a stress management training program. Another group of workers did not participate in the training. The number of sick days taken by these workers was examined for the next 2 months. Independent variable, Allison? Yeah, so if they took the group training on stress management, right? And then dependent variable would be what? Hadley? Yeah, there you go. Good explanation. Yeah, number of sick days taken for the next 2 months. 5, students at a university were split into 2 groups and each received a different text for a philosophy course. One group received a traditional textbook, while the other received an interactive textbook on a tablet computer. After the course, the final exam grades between the 2 groups of students was compared. What do we have here? Caitlin, what's the independent variable? Yeah, good job. So depending on what textbook they received, and I'm glad you explained the interactive on the tablet, or if they just received a different textbook from the philosophy course. And dependent variable would be what, Haley? Yeah, good job. So their final exam grades. Any questions on that? So we understand about independent, dependent variables? Yeah, all right, good, good. All right, so terms for today. Here we go. And I have to zoom out a little bit. So what did we go over? Confounding variable, yep. We went over, all right, so control group, experimental group, and representative sample. There we go. Ooh. All right, good to go. All right, control group. What do we have here? What do we got? Did we? Oh, did we go over it? Oh, sorry. Experimental group, what do we have, Kaylin? Yeah, good job. So experimental group, we know experimental group is the person that, or a group that is presented with the treatment. Control group may be presented with placebo. So we'll talk about that today and the differences of the experimental group. Maybe there's experimental controls, okay? And obviously a control group. Representative sample. What is a representative sample? What does that mean? Kiara? Yeah, good job. So a good example of a representative sample would be, let's just say I'm taking a survey of Upper Dauphin area high school students. Everybody in here would be a good example of a representative sample. All right, good, cool. So moving on today, just want to get to experimental group, control group, and I have an assignment for you. We'll see if I assign it. I don't know. It might be tomorrow, or sorry, on Monday. We'll see. If you have some time, maybe I'll get it out, please. All right, so step 4, after the experimentation process, we're gonna go to analyzing the results, okay? Analyzing results. So we're gonna look at how these results, maybe there's some confounding variables that skewed our data. Well, we gotta go back up and replicate our study. So we'll talk about in step 5 here, this replication of our study and figure out if we need to introduce control group or an experimental group, and what type of experimental controls we might have to introduce within our study. So step 4, analyzing results. We're looking at the data. Okay, we're analyzing it and we're understanding maybe if we need to actually go through that scientific method once again. Okay, where we have to replicate our study and understand if we need to adjust our independent variable to receive what we want as our dependent variable. All right, so there you go. So with Emily Rose's experiment, her analysis was pretty clear. It was really to see if these therapeutic touch practitioners, okay, if they would answer under 50%, then her experiment was good, right? Her hypothesis was correct. And she concluded it was around 40%. So yeah, hers was right. Now let's face it, these therapeutic touch practitioners, they had the ability to answer it really 50-50. It was either left or right. And they still didn't answer over 50%. So that being said, she proved that, you know what, therapeutic touch practitioners, they can't feel the energy field coming off of people's bodies, right? So maybe she was disproving this practice. And we talked about it the other day. So if anybody thinks that this is a good outlet to relieve stress or anxiety, then yeah, I mean, emotionally, okay, in our minds, maybe that is the only outlet that we can get. And if we're in severe, let's say, disease or have cancer, maybe this is something that we utilize and think that, well, maybe this is a last resort, the only resort that we do have. So I'm not trying to discredit that whatsoever, but with Emily Rose's experiment, she was proving that these therapeutic touch practitioners can't sense the energy field. All right, so again, she concluded, well, these therapeutic touch practitioners, they cannot detect the human energy field. All right, so with functionalysis, pretty self-explanatory. We talked about this already, and how, well, if we remove Von Austin, then he can't, Clever Hans can't tell math, right? There's just no way he could. All right, so number 5, publicizing and criticizing and replicating the results. So I added that part into the scientific method, where after we're done with our experiment, when we're analyzing our results, we have to replicate the study. In many cases, we might add different variables to a study that's already published to see exactly how this will play out. So adding variables, maybe excluding other confounding variables that might have reached a conclusion that maybe you were not trying to find, and other individuals applying this to different settings, different environments, different variables to see how this study might occur. So it's important to make sure that you have your variables labeled with an operational definition. It's important to understand that we are measuring the desired outcome. And we're excluding any type of confounding variables that could skew our results. So replicating the study is very, very important. If we don't do that, well, maybe we might have missed out on a bias, right? Maybe we might have missed out on a variable that is causing our study to be altered for something that maybe we're looking for. So it's important that we replicate the study. You guys good with that? All right. So moving on, we went over some of these independent and dependent variable examples. Experimental method. So we are going to include experimental controls, okay? We're going to try to make sure that we can reach the destined outcome we want through our experiments by including a control group and an experimental group. So the way we can do that is by introducing a treatment to a certain group to see the results, to see and analyze what exactly is going to be the result of this treatment. And we might have a control group that receives a placebo to maybe see exactly how these individuals are altered or their reactions to a certain treatment that's maybe different than the actual treatment itself. But to try to exclude any type of bias, we try to make sure we can understand and pick out who our experimental group is and who our control group is. In that case, we'll talk about it more on Monday. It's a single blind study where we know who is receiving the treatment and who is not. A double blind study is the exact opposite, where we try to include an experiment, the control group and the experimental group. We have no idea who is receiving the treatment and who is not. The experimenter has no clue who is receiving the treatment and who is not. And again, this is try to eliminate bias. And we'll talk about the placebo effect and how that causes a lot of disruptions, maybe do certain studies. Okay, and I know with the example with Emily Rosa, okay, that video I showed you at the end, remember, a lot of those individuals were saying, oh, I got the best night's sleep ever. And they realized at the end, they were just given a placebo. It was just a sugar pill. And they kind of looked dumb, right? And that, again, that's what the placebo effect can do to people. And in all reality, they're taking something and it's really not helping or benefiting their, let's say, sleep in that certain case. Does that make sense? No. So experimental controls, like I mentioned, are controls to exclude or eliminate confounding variables. So an example, we talked about the confounding variables with Emily Rose's experiment. Maybe there's a window in the place where she was performing her study that allowed the therapeutic practitioners to see what hand she was hovering over top of. So an experimental control in that study, well, maybe she locks out the windows, right? Maybe she puts shutters on the windows to make sure that the reflection won't occur and that the therapeutic practitioners can't see what hand she's hovering over top of. Another control that she included was, well, the cardboard piece, right? To make sure that no individuals could see what hand she's hovering over top of. And she also included a kind of like a towel to put over top of their hands so that they couldn't see the shadows of her hands hovering over top of the therapeutic touch practitioner's hands. So those are controls that Emily Rosa placed within her study to make sure that these confounding variables were excluded. Does that make sense? All right. What about for Funkst? Well, he included what? The blinders. Okay. That's an experimental control that he included within his study to make sure that Clever Hans wasn't receiving any type of visual aid from von Osten. So experimental control for Funkst's experiment, well, let's include the blinders. Let's put these over top of Clever Hans's eyes so that he can't see von Osten's facial expressions. All right, guys, good with that? Yeah. Control group, experimental group. So control group is really just the group that is not receiving the treatment. Okay, this is what the treatment, the experimental group is reflected off of. Okay, they're basing their analysis their conclusions off of these people that didn't receive the treatment. A lot of times the control group receives the placebo, right? All right, representative sample. So I already gave an example of representative sample. This is not gathering the, let's say, the responses for every single person in that group. We were actually looking at a small portion of a said group. So like I said before, it'd take forever for me to get a response from everybody in the high school. It'd take a long, long time. But a good example of gathering information that reflects the group as a whole is just asking you in the class of Upper Dauphin Area High School. It's like, hey, what do you guys think of the game Friday? Let's just say that tonight. And you give your response, and that's a good representative sample of the whole student body at Upper Dauphin Area High School. Is it the exact response maybe we're looking for? Maybe not, right? So you got to take into account of what students, what people you are actually gathering for your representative sample. So you see how that could alter? So maybe if we're talking about school, how do you enjoy school, right? You go to some individuals, Kiara, do you like school? Okay, sometimes, all right, all right. So let's just say for someone that loves school, we'll go to an AP course, an AP classroom, say, hey, what do you think of school? Do you like it? You enjoy it? Yeah, we love it. Okay, but then you go to other individuals that maybe not like school whatsoever, a different classroom. And that sample could alter your data. That sample might not be accurate of what you're trying to look for. See what I'm getting at? Okay. All right, so again, representative sample. Okay, we'll talk about a representative sample here soon with surveys. I think on Monday or Tuesday, I like you getting surveys where you'll create your own. And you'll just ask everybody here in the classroom of what their response is of a certain thing. Random assignment, we talked about that already. And random assignment for Rose's experiment, flipping the coin, right? Flipping the coin. And we had no idea what hand she was going to hover over top of. And thanks to the coin, heads or tails, we knew what she was going to be strong with, what hand she was going to hover over top. With Funkst, it was making sure that there's no tendencies with the questions he asked. So random assignment was applied to those two studies by, well, flipping a coin for Emily Rosa and the equations, making sure that these tendencies, these equations weren't linked together, that clever Hans could maybe build a connection to. All right, so last thing, guys, control group, a group that is not exposed to the treatment. So it might be a placebo effect. Experimental group, well, that's a group that is exposed to the treatment. So again, you're going to gather your information, your data off of the effects of whether the treatment was successful, let's just say with sleep, and whether or not with the control group, if they gain enough sleep or not enough sleep. And we're going to base our conclusions and our reactions of the control group and experimental group to publish our results to see if our experiment was worthwhile, to see if the sleep pill was beneficial or not. All right, is there any questions on that, guys? We good? All right, that's all I got. That's all I got. So I was going to sign something for you tonight, but you know what? Being nice here. Yeah. Maybe Monday. Well, Monday you're gonna have to do it though. I'll give you some class time to work on it. All right, that's all I got. Have a great weekend, everybody. Yeah. Good luck to the football team tonight.